July 14th, 1881, midnight. The desert air in Fort Sumner was heavy, silent, waiting. Inside a dark bedroom, a man lay in bed, half asleep. Suddenly, footsteps. Soft, careful, deadly. The man grabbed his pistol and whispered into the darkness, "¿Quién es? Who is it?" But before he could move, bang! One gunshot shattered the silence. And just like that, the most feared outlaw in the Wild West, the most hunted man in America, the ghost who killed men and vanished like smoke, Billy the Kid, was dead. He was only 21 years old, but in those 21 years, he became more famous than presidents, more feared than armies, and more legendary than death itself. Some called him a cold-blooded killer, others called him a hero, but the truth is far darker than the legend. This is the real story of Billy the Kid. Billy the Kid was not born a killer. He was born poor, very poor. His real name was Henry McCarty. He was born in 1859, likely in New York City. That's how invisible he was. His father disappeared early, dead or gone. No records, no answers. His mother, Catherine, was all he had. She loved him fiercely. She protected him. But the world didn't care. America in the 1860s was not a kind place, especially for the poor, especially for boys without fathers. They moved constantly. Indiana, Kansas, Colorado. Running from hunger, running from sickness, running from fate. But fate was faster. When Henry was still a young teenager, his mother became sick with tuberculosis. He watched her grow weaker every day. He watched her cough blood. He watched death take her slowly. And then one day, she was gone. Henry was only 14 years old, and now he was completely alone. No parents, no money, no protection, no future. This was the moment Henry McCarty died, and Billy the Kid was born. After his mother's death, Henry had no one to guide him. No school, no home, no rules, only survival. He drifted to Silver City in New Mexico, a rough, violent frontier town, filled with gamblers, thieves, and killers. He tried to work honestly. He worked in hotels. He cleaned dishes. He did small jobs. But honest work paid pennies. Crime paid dollars. And hunger doesn't wait. One day in 1875, Henry made his first mistake. He stole food and clothes from a Chinese laundry. He was caught, arrested, thrown into jail, alone in a cold, dark cell. Most boys would cry. Most boys would beg. Henry escaped. He climbed up the chimney, slipped into the night, and ran. That was the moment he crossed the line. He was now officially an outlaw, and there was no going back. Henry fled into the Arizona desert. There, he met dangerous men, gunfighters, outlaws, killers, men who lived outside the law. They saw something in him. He was young, fast, fearless, and most importantly, he had nothing to lose. He learned quickly how to shoot, how to steal, how to survive. But survival in the Wild West meant one: kill or be killed. In 1877, at just 18 years old, Henry got into a fight with a blacksmith named Frank Cahill. Frank was bigger, stronger, older. He bullied Henry constantly. One day, Frank knocked Henry down. Henry pulled his gun and shot him. Frank Cahill died the next day. Henry had just killed his first man. Everything changed. He wasn't just an outlaw anymore. He was a killer. And now, the law was hunting him. Henry ran again. He changed his name. William H. Bonney. but history would remember him as Billy the Kid. He arrived in Lincoln County, New Mexico. This was no ordinary place. It was a war zone. Two powerful groups were fighting for control. Rich businessmen, corrupt politicians, ranchers, gunmen. This conflict became known as the Lincoln County War. Billy chose a side. He joined a group called the Regulators. They weren't saints. They weren't heroes. They were avengers. And Billy became their deadliest weapon. He was fast, terrifyingly fast. Witnesses said he could draw his gun faster than the eye could see. He smiled while fighting. He laughed during gun battles. He showed no fear. He became death in human form, and people began to whisper his name, Billy the Kid. The war began after the murder of a ranch owner named John Tunstall. Tunstall trusted him. When Tunstall was killed, Billy wanted revenge. He joined the Regulators to hunt down the killers, and they did, one by one. Ambush, gunfight, execution. Billy killed multiple men during this time. Some say 4, some say 9, some legends say 21. The truth? No one knows. But one thing was certain, Billy had no fear of killing. Gunfights became normal. Death became routine. And Billy became famous, or infamous, depending on who you asked. By 1880, Billy the Kid was the most wanted outlaw in New Mexico. The government offered rewards for his capture. Sheriffs hunted him. Bounty hunters chased him. Everyone wanted Billy, but no one could catch him. He escaped every trap. He vanished into deserts. He hid among friends. He moved like a ghost. People began to believe he was real. Unstoppable. Untouchable. Immortal. But one man would change everything. A man named Pat Garrett. Pat Garrett wasn't just a lawman. He was calm, patient, smart, and unlike others, he understood Billy. Because once, they were friends. They drank together, laughed together. But now, they were enemies. Garrett made it his mission to capture Billy. Dead or alive, the hunt began, and it would become one of the most famous manhunts in American history. In December 1880, Pat Garrett finally caught Billy. Billy was captured without a fight. For the first time, the unstoppable outlaw was behind bars. He was tried for murder, found guilty, and sentenced to hang. Execution date set. Billy the Kid would die. But Billy wasn't finished. Not yet. April 28, 1881. Billy was guarded by 2 deputies, James Bell and Bob Ollinger. Billy waited, watched, planned. Then he made his move. He slipped his handcuffs, grabbed a gun, shot James Bell, dead. Bob Ollinger ran toward the building. Billy stood at the window, a shotgun in his hands. Smiling, he pulled the trigger. Bob Ollinger died instantly. Billy walked outside calmly, free again. He escaped, alone, unstoppable, untouchable, or so he thought. July 14, 1881. Fort Sumner. Billy didn't know Pat Garrett was waiting, hiding, watching. Billy entered a dark room. He sensed danger. He whispered, "Quien es?" But it was too late. Pat Garrett fired. 1 bullet, straight into Billy's heart. Billy the Kid fell to the floor, dead at 21. Just like that, the legend ended. Billy the Kid died young, but his legend became immortal. Books were written, movies were made, songs were sung. Some say he was evil. Some say he was a victim. Some say he was a hero. A poor boy, broken by the world, who became the most feared outlaw in history. But the most chilling truth? Billy the Kid wasn't born a killer. He was created. By loss, by pain, by survival, and by a world that gave him no other choice. In the Wild West, you didn't choose your fate. Your fate chose you. Billy the Kid didn't live long, but he lived forever. Because legends never die. After his first kill, something inside Billy changed forever. Most men remember their first kill. The sound, the smell, the horror, the guilt. But Billy felt something else. Relief. Killing. But because he had survived, for the first time in his life, he understood the truth of the Wild West. There were only two kinds of people, the killers and the dead. And Billy chose to live. He stopped seeing himself as a victim. He stopped seeing himself as a boy. He became something else. Something colder. Something faster. Something dangerous. But beneath the surface, he was still human, still broken, still alone. And loneliness is the most dangerous weapon of all. People who met Billy were often confused. They expected a monster. Instead, they saw a skinny young man, about 5 feet 8 inches tall, blue eyes, smooth face, almost innocent looking. He smiled easily, he laughed often, he joked with strangers. Women liked him, men underestimated him. Mistake. Because Billy was faster than anyone alive. Witnesses said his hands moved like lightning. 1 second empty, the next second, a gun pointed at your heart. He didn't look like death, but death wore his face. Lincoln County wasn't just a town, it was a battlefield. 2 powerful factions controlled everything. The Murphy-Dolan faction and their enemies. Business meant power. Power meant money. Money meant control. And control meant killing anyone who stood in your way. Billy fought with a group called the Regulators. They believed they were fighting for justice. But justice in the Wild West was just revenge with a badge. Gunfights erupted in streets. Men were shot in broad daylight. Buildings burned. Friends betrayed friends. Neighbors became enemies. And Billy stood in the center of it all. Watching. Learning. Surviving. Each gunfight made him stronger. Each death made him colder. Each escape made him more legendary. And with every passing day, his name spread farther. Billy the Kid. People began telling stories about him. Stories that grew bigger each time they were told. Stories that turned a boy into a myth. Despite everything, Billy had one weakness. He trusted people. Not easily, not fully, but when he did, he trusted deeply. He had friends who hid him, friends who fed him, friends who protected him. He also had enemies everywhere. Every stranger could be a bounty hunter. Every smile could hide betrayal. But Billy never stopped trusting completely, because deep down, he was still that boy. The boy who lost his mother. The boy who had no one. The boy who just wanted to belong. By now, Billy was no longer just an outlaw. He was the most famous criminal in the territory. Newspapers wrote about him. Lawmen obsessed over him. Citizens feared him. His name alone caused panic. Parents warned their children, "Sleep early, or Billy the Kid will come." Whether true or not, fear made him powerful. But fame also made him vulnerable. Because fame attracts hunters, and the deadliest hunter of all was still watching. Pat Garrett. Garrett didn't rush. He didn't act emotionally. He waited, studied Billy, learned his habits, learned his weaknesses. Garrett knew one thing others didn't. Billy wasn't unstoppable. Billy was human, and humans make mistakes. Billy grew tired. Years of running, years of hiding, years of killing. He was only 21, but he felt 50. Escape. Not from prison, but from his life. He wanted peace. He wanted freedom. He wanted to stop running. He believed maybe, just maybe, he could make a deal. He spoke with Governor Lew Wallace. He offered to testify about the Lincoln County War. In exchange for freedom, a fresh start, a new life. For a moment, hope returned. Billy testified. He cooperated. He trusted the system. But the system betrayed him. The governor never gave him full pardon. Billy realized too late. Outlaws don't get second chances. Only graves. After his capture, Billy was locked inside a courthouse in Lincoln. Iron shackles, armed guards, locked doors. Escape was impossible, at least for ordinary men. But Billy wasn't ordinary. He watched the guards. He studied their routines, their habits, their weaknesses. He waited patiently, like a wolf waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And then, the moment came. April 28, 1881. Billy asked to use the outhouse. Deputy James Bell escorted him. As they walked, Billy slipped free. No one knows exactly how, but suddenly, Billy grabbed a gun. Bang! James Bell fell dead. Inside, another deputy, Bob Ollinger, heard the shot. He ran toward the building. Billy stood waiting, holding Ollinger's own shotgun. As Ollinger approached, Billy smiled and fired. Bob Ollinger died instantly. 2 guards dead. Billy free. Again. He walked outside calmly, mounted a horse, and disappeared into the desert, as if he had never been there. America was shocked, terrified, fascinated. Billy the Kid had escaped death itself. Billy returned to familiar territory, Fort Sumner. He trusted the people there. He felt safe. For the first time in years, he stopped running. He relaxed. He laughed. He believed maybe the hunt was over. But death was already waiting. Pat Garrett had tracked him. Quietly, carefully, patiently. Garrett entered Fort Sumner silently, like a shadow. He asked questions, gathered information, followed Billy's trail, until finally, he found him. It was dark, silent. Billy entered a house. He didn't know Garrett was inside. Hidden, waiting. Billy sensed movement. He whispered, "Quien es?" Those were his last words. Garrett fired. 1 bullet. Billy collapsed. Dead instantly. No dramatic final words. No heroic ending. Just silence. Billy the Kid was gone. He was 21 years old. Billy's body was buried quickly. No ceremony, no honor. Just dirt. But legends don't need ceremonies. They grow in whispers, in stories, in fear. People began telling tales. Some said he killed 21 men. Some said he never died. Some said he escaped. Some claimed to see him years later. Later. Alive. Watching. Smiling. Whether true or not, Billy had become immortal. Not in body, but in legend. Billy wasn't born evil. He wasn't born a killer. He was created. Created by loss. Created by poverty. Created by betrayal. Created by survival. The Wild West didn't forgive weakness. It destroyed it. Billy didn't choose violence. Violence chose him. He didn't chase death. Death chased him, until it finally caught him. But here's the strangest part of all. Years after his death, a man appeared, claiming he was Billy the Kid. Alive, older, and with secrets that could change history forever. Was Billy the Kid really dead? Or did the greatest outlaw of the Wild West escape one final time? The morning after Billy the Kid was shot, the people of Fort Sumner gathered in. Silence. They had feared him. Some had protected him. Some had loved him. Now they stared at his lifeless body. He looked smaller in death. Fragile. Not like the monster the newspapers described. Not like the unstoppable outlaw who escaped prisons and vanished into deserts. Just a boy. A dead boy. He was buried quickly. No priest. No ceremony. No justice. Just a shallow grave in the dry earth. The law declared it finished. Pat Garrett declared victory. America believed the legend was over. But the desert never forgets. Weeks passed. Then months, then something strange began happening. Travelers reported sightings. A young man, skinny, blue-eyed, fast. He moved like Billy. He smiled like Billy. He disappeared like Billy. Some claimed they spoke to him. Some claimed he warned them. Some claimed he laughed when they asked his name. But when they looked again, he was gone. Most dismissed the stories as rumors, ghost stories, Wild West fantasies. But then, a man came forward, and everything changed. In the early 1900s, a man named Brushy Bill Roberts made a shocking claim. He said he wasn't Brushy Bill. He said he was Billy the Kid, alive, older, but alive. People laughed at him, mocked him, called him crazy. But Brushy Bill didn't back down. He told detailed stories, stories only Billy would know. He knew names, places, events, secrets. He knew things never published in newspapers, things no ordinary man could know. He even claimed Pat Garrett didn't kill him. He said Garrett killed someone else by mistake, and Billy escaped into the night. Time. Investigators questioned Brushy Bill. They studied him, compared his face to old photos, compared his voice, his movements, his memories. Some believed him, others didn't. There was no DNA testing back then, no scientific proof, only stories and belief. Brushy Bill asked for one thing, a pardon. He wanted the government to officially forgive him, to recognize him, to accept the truth. But the government refused. They said Billy the Kid was dead. Case closed. Brushy Bill died in 1950. His secret died with him. Or did it? Years later, an old photograph surfaced. It showed a group of men playing croquet. One of them looked exactly like Billy the Kid. Same face, same posture, same eyes. Experts argued. Some said it was proof Billy survived. Others said it was coincidence. Was certain. The legend refused to die. Because Billy wasn't just a man anymore. He was something else. Something bigger. A symbol. Billy lived only 21 years. But in those 21 years, he became eternal. Because his story wasn't just about crime. It was about survival. A poor orphan boy, abandoned by the world, forced to fight, forced to kill, forced to become something he never chose. People saw themselves in him. Not the killer, but the survivor, the fighter, the boy who refused to surrender. Billy represented freedom, dangerous freedom, the kind of freedom that came with a price, the ultimate price. Pat Garrett became famous for killing Billy, but fame became a curse. People whispered. Some called him a hero, others called him a traitor. Some even said Billy haunted him. Garrett himself died violently in 1908. Shot. Just like Billy. Some called it justice. Some called it fate. Some called it revenge. Because in the Wild West, violence never ends peacefully. It only waits. Billy wasn't evil. He was shaped by trauma, by loss, by abandonment. He never had guidance, never had protection, never had peace. His mind adapted to survive. He trusted instinct. He trusted speed. He trusted violence. Because violence was the only language the Wild West understood, and Billy spoke it fluently. Over time, Billy the Kid became more myth than man. Stories exaggerated his kills, exaggerated his escapes, exaggerated his power. Some stories claimed he killed 21 men, one for every year of his life. Truth says fewer. But truth doesn't matter. Legends don't survive on truth. They survive on belief. Belief made Billy immortal. Imagine being Billy. 14 years old, your mother dead, no home, no protection, no future. Every day fighting to survive. Every night fearing death. Every moment alone. Would you have done differently? Or would you have become exactly what he became? This is the question Billy the Kid leaves behind. Not about crime, but about humanity. Billy the Kid died in 1881. Or maybe he didn't. Maybe he escaped. Maybe he lived quietly. Maybe he watched the world forget him. Or maybe he became something else. A ghost. A symbol. A warning. Because the Wild West didn't create heroes. It created survivors. And Billy the Kid was the greatest survivor of them all. He lived fast, he died young, and he became eternal. Because men die, but legends never do.